Hello, I am Mike Boone, and I'm the physical therapist for your school district. Thank you for joining me for this presentation on flexible classroom seating. What is flexible classroom seating? Well, it's basically an alternative approach to seating in the traditional classroom. The students have different options when it comes to seating choices. This may mean that there are no more conventional rows of desks or tables, and that the students have freedom to choose where they sit. Choices of seating can include some non-traditional seats such as stools, ball chairs, beanbag chairs, and standing desks. Why would you consider flexible classroom seating? Well, there are some possible health benefits. It may reduce sedentary time and result in health benefits by breaking up periods of prolonged sitting. We know that children who spend more time sitting with a flexed trunk are going to report more back pain. And we also know that reduced activity can lead to chronic diseases later in life, including childhood obesity, which is the most prevalent risk factor for cardiovascular disease in children. There are also possible academic benefits. It allows the students to have some degree of choice and control over their environment. Allowing students to choose where they sit can encourage higher order thinking skills. Students can choose the chair that is most comfortable for them, helping them to reduce distractions that come with discomfort. Non-traditional seating arrangements can also improve communication, collaboration, and creativity. The increased sensory input from alternative seating can help some students focus and process information better. Flexible classroom seating can facilitate increased participation in classroom discussions. It also helps make learning fun. Flexible seating encourages students to share their space and their supplies, and it can increase learning without increasing off-task behaviors. What are some of the seating options that you can use with flexible classroom seating? One would be a wobble cushion. It's an easy way to give the student just a little bit of wiggle that they might need, and this is a way to start small with flexible seating. You can simply add some of these cushions to the chairs that you already have. Another option would be something like a beanbag chair. These can be used alone on the floor or at a low table. It is a good option for small group work and quiet reading. T-stools can allow the students to wiggle and move as they are reading, writing, learning, and listening. Scoop rocker chairs are handy for younger ages for things like circle time and can also be used at lower tables. They are typically inexpensive and easy to move around. Ball chairs make it difficult to sit with bad posture. They allow you to move and change positions frequently. Sometimes the best option is the one you have available. Sometimes you can pick up things like camping chairs or discarded office chairs that people are just trying to get rid of, and you can use those for a seating option. You want to use the chairs in the system that works for you and your classroom. Every class is unique. You know your students, so use what works best for you. As we said, start small. You may want to start with just a few options, like some wobble cushions on a typical chair. Let the students know that selecting their seat is a privilege. The teacher can move a student at any time for any reason. Set the guidelines. Establish, post, and enforce the guidelines. Be consistent. If you don't want to reinvent the wheel, there are other teachers out there that have posted their seating rules. You can find pre-made posters with flexible seating rules on sites such as Teachers Pay Teachers. Communicate. Let your parents, students, and administrators know why you're using flexible seating and what you are hoping to accomplish. Communicate your rules for how to and how not to use each seating option. How do students choose their seats? You'll want to create a system that works for you and your classroom. Decide in advance how you will handle students that exclude other students or just want to sit with their friends. What about funding? If alternative seating is not in your budget, you may want to consider other options such as Donors Choose, the Kids in Need Foundation, Adopt a Classroom, parent-teacher organizations, or other fundraising projects. I am Mike Boone. I'm a physical therapist, and today I've got with me Amy Brown. Amy, you are a second grade teacher here at Washington Courthouse, and I understand that you've implemented flexible seating. So talk about how it works in your classroom.
So the kids get to come in each day and they make a choice as to where they want to sit for the day. So part of that, the reason we wanted to implement it was we wanted kids to feel empowered to make choices for themselves in the classroom and this was one way that we could give them the opportunity to learn how to make good choices on their own.
How was it like getting started? Was it hard to get started?
So to get started, the first thing is once we got all the flexible seating ordered, my husband kindly came over and helped me get everything put together and blown up, which kind of just took an afternoon, so it wasn't that bad. And then the other thing that we did to get started was the beginning of the year, the kids, I had a slide presented where we talked about each type of seating, what the expectations were, what they were used for, to help them learn how to make good choices and to figure out what worked for them. So it was really going over those expectations of how you use each type of flexible seating, what the benefits for each type of flexible seating would be.
And you've been doing this now for how long?
This is my first full year with it, so just this year, but the kids have really liked it. It's gone really well. I noticed some kids who, having talked to their teacher in the past, that were a little bit more wiggly, they seems to help their focusing a little bit better.
Great. Have you had any problems?
Occasionally you'll have kids that are choosing seats where their friends are, and they're not, so it's teaching them to make those choices of, not just because my friend's sitting here, but to make sure they're choosing the correct seating. So occasionally you'll have kids who don't work well together, so then you have to try to get them to say, okay, if you see so-and-so sitting at this table, make a different one. But that's been kind of the biggest drawback so far.
Okay, so and speaking of choosing seats, like how does that work? Do they pick a different one every day? What does that look like?
So it depends on, like, some kids tend to go to the same seat every day. Others like to change it up, so they have that flexibility. So each day they have a clip and they come in, and all the flexible seating options are posted on the wall with how many seats are available. And then so once a clip's put there, it's taken, so then they know if they come in, say they wanted the bean bags, but the bean bags are taken, okay, I've got these other choices, and then they can pick from there.
Very good. And then the kids seem to really like it.
They do.
They do like it. Do we have any misbehaving, any arguments over who gets what seat? How's that been?
This group's been pretty good about not arguing. It's kind of, they just know from how we have the routine set up that if it's available, it's available. If it's not, you have to make another choice. So that's eliminated the arguing, because if there's room there, there's room there. If there's not,
great,
you have to pick another one.
Great. Do you feel like it's been a distraction, or have they paid more attention? What would you say it's done to the classroom?
This group is a squirrelier group than some years past, but overall, I've not noticed it being a distraction for my kids. They really like it. They like to be able to, where they can move the seats around, to work in groups. It just makes, and it's very easy to move the furniture because it's not heavy. So, when they're working in groups, it's very easy for them to pick up a seat if they need to add another seat to a table. But really, I haven't really noticed it being too much of a distraction for them. They're still paying attention, getting their work done.
Great.
It's kind of nice for kids who are a little bit wigglier. They can still do their work by being in their seat. But they also have standing options, so if they're a kid who needs to stand, they have that option as well.
Great. So if you had a teacher that was maybe interested in it, what would you say to them? Like, what would you tell a teacher if they were thinking about flexible seating?
I think you have to look at your class to see what's going to work for you. Some classes you may want less options than what I currently have, depending on if it's a group that's highly distracted. You might want to pare down some of the options. But my kids really enjoy it. It's really been a benefit. I enjoy it. I like the kids having the choices. I'd say setting up those routines and expectations is essential if you're going to choose to do flexible seating. If you don't have that routine and those expectations in, you're going to see some problems.
Sure. Yeah. So we had a survey of some teachers, and I want to address some of the questions that they had asked. Okay. A lot of the teachers, and we kind of talked about this before, but a lot of them were concerned. Almost half said that they were worried that it would be a distraction. What can they do to help it not be a distraction? Do you have any tips for that?
Like I said, I feel like essential for me was setting those expectations of, yes, you might be able to bounce a little bit, but making sure when you're bouncing that you're still able to work. If not, and the other thing is to make sure that they're not distractions. The kids know if they're unable to handle the seating, that I have the privilege or I have the right to move them at any time.
Sure.
So that was one of the big things that was set in place, while you get the choice, but if you're not making a decision that's right for you, I do have the right to move you.
Right.
And that's kind of helped with eliminating some of the
Very good.
problems and distractions.
And you have ball seats and mushroom chairs, and one of the teachers mentioned that they were having problems with the kids falling off the chairs, worried about safety concerns. Have you had any issues with that?
I have not, thankfully. But like I said, like we talked about even at the beginning, you have to have 2 feet on the floor. When you're sitting on the ball chair, your feet have to be on the floor. You can't be pushing back in them. So different things like that. The wobble stools where you can wobble a little bit. So we really went over a lot of the safety aspects of how to use them to ensure that that didn't happen.
Okay, so maybe there might be certain kids that can't choose certain chairs if they've shown that they can't stay in them?
That is correct.
Okay.
So
okay.
they know that, that's not an option for you.
Right.
The kid that comes down and, he has to earn the option back. So it's one of those, you're in this seat until you can earn the option back to choose.
Right. And then one of the some of the responses have been about COVID restrictions have kind of fouled up a lot of people's plans for flexible seating. Is that something that you have had to deal with?
We have not had to deal with that. One thing, because when we were planning this project, or when the kids were planning this project to get the flexible seating, we were in COVID restrictions. So some of the things that we had, the plexiglass dividers for each student. So one way to get around that was I had a parent actually make the plexiglass dividers, so we just put the plexiglass dividers up on what would be the tables, and that was enough to keep them. They could still use the flexible seating, but it'd still keep them apart.
Very good, very good. One of the responses was about concerns about fire codes, and that's something I think you said you've had to deal with as well.
So we get checked beginning of each year where the fire marshal comes in and checks for codes. So all of the flexible seating I have does meet the fire code restrictions as to what can be in there. So they're all fire retardant. They meet the fire code standards.
Very good, very good. And then a lot of concerns on the questionnaires were about the cost of the chairs. How have you managed that?
So we had a budget of $2,500, and we were able to buy, I bought 4 tables, and it was like 40 seats, I think, overall within that $2,500. So
Okay.
it wasn't too bad. We kind of really researched to see, costs to try to compare prices. But yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different seating types that the kids get to choose from, and I think I can hold up to like 42 kids in my class.
Wow.
All the options.
That is wonderful. That is really good. So are there certain chairs that are more popular than others?
It's funny because what the kids who did the project last year, some of their favorites, this group have a little bit different favorites than the other ones. So last year they really liked the mushroom ball seats. This year this group's not as into those. They're more into the wobble stools and the bean bags. The kids also really like the donut balls that they can kneel on, and then the bouncy ball. So it's funny because there's certain days that one table might not be used, and then there's another day that table will have everybody at it. So this group kind of really likes to keep it changed. So
very good, very good. Okay, well that has been super helpful. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully this has answered everybody's questions that they have about flexible seating. So very good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.